Welcome to this week's episode. I am thrilled to have on Jennifer Jayde. Jen, love you. Welcome.
Oh, so happy to be here. Love you too, Heather. Thanks so much for having me.
A little background. I actually did Jennifer's Dream Starter program in the summer of 2016. And that was, to be honest, it was a catalyst on my journey and path of figuring out my passion and purpose and moving forward to quitting corporate. So if you want to give a little background, where do you live? What do you do?
Yeah. So my name is Jennifer Jayde. I live part-time in British Columbia, Canada. That's where I'm from. I'm Canadian. And I live part-time in San Diego as well. The title I give myself, I feel like it changes every week on a whim. But what I ultimately really love to do is empower women to live a soul-aligned life full-time. So if that means transitioning out of a job that really isn't in alignment with your soul, doesn't bring you joy, then so be it. That's what we do. I find that the women that come to me usually want to set up something online so they have the freedom to live and work and play wherever they like in the world.
Laptop lifestyle.
That's right.
Yes. Awesome. And I know, Jen, we could probably talk for hours about so many things, but what I want to have you on to talk mainly about today is maybe a little bit more of your background, but how you spent 2017 backing away from that hustle and living more in a state of joy and letting life flow for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was actually really hard. It sounds like, oh, I just had all this fun and it was really easy. And the experience of it was, but getting to that point was hard, was a challenge for me. Growing up, some of my earliest memories are, my mom, she had me young, and her and I lived in this little basement suite together, just the two of us. And I remember her hunched over the dining room table and just crying. And I didn't understand what was going on. And I kind of started eavesdropping on her conversations, which I now know she was talking to her mom on the phone, my grandma. And she started having anxiety and panic attacks. And it was around money. She didn't know about how rent was going to be paid, how she was going to keep food on the table. We didn't have any other outside sources of support. So it really started taking a toll on her. And as I started to clue in around 4 or 5 years old what was happening, then I realized I didn't want to be a burden anymore. And that's when the hustler came out of me. And I started the lemonade stands. I wanted to get my own newspaper route, but the company said I was too young to have my own route. So then I started assisting my neighbors with their newspaper routes. And it just went on and on and on from there.
What I found through I think money is a huge limiting belief for so many people, and possibly a lot of it is they don't even realize that limiting belief was a story they told themselves at a young age that they've been reliving. That money is hard to come by, and you have to work hard for money, and there's not enough money. So
yeah,
how did you turn that around?
So learning a little bit about what you just said for myself, I remember I was taking this certification for life coaching, and I didn't even think I was going to go into coaching. I was just really fascinated by what this course was teaching. And one of the things they said really struck out to me, and it said that 50% of everything we will learn between the ages of 0 and 8 years old. So our subconscious mind, which we operate 80% from, has no barrier when we're little, when we're first born and up until to the age of 8 years old, roughly. We're just letting everything in. We're really looking up to our parents or whoever our primary caregivers are as to what they're saying, what their beliefs are, what their actions are saying and not saying, and we're absorbing that as truth. We're not filtering it as, oh, I'm not taking that on, or I don't believe that, or I don't agree with that. We just agree with everything. So if we're not careful, we will carry our parents' limiting beliefs, self-limiting beliefs, money stories, who they may have actually gotten from their parents and from their parents. So learning that, I was like, wow, like, where am I limiting myself, or what are my beliefs around money that may not actually be true? And so that was when it first started. But the bigger epiphany to when I realized that I really needed to shift my life was in 2016, halfway through 2016. I was at a masterclass with Gabby Bernstein in New York, and I had now started this online business that I have. I had started it, I think it was about 7 months into the business, and I was all about growing it fast, growing as fast as possible, you know, hitting income targets. I was doing it for the love and the joy of what I was doing, but I had all this added pressure onto myself for how fast can I grow the business? How fast, faster, you know, and really comparing myself. Well, this person's doing this and this person's growing it that fast, and I should be able to do that too, and so on. And so just this weight on my back. And so at that masterclass in New York in May 2016, Gabby says, "What are you running from?" And I thought, like that question in that moment was exactly what I needed to hear, what I needed to be asked. If it was any other day or any other time in my life, I'd probably be like, I don't know. I don't know. But in that moment, it was like, I have been running. I've been running my whole life. And why? What have I been running from? And then we had a few minutes to sit in silence, thank goodness, so I could really digest what was coming through. And I just saw it. I saw all of it. I saw, you know, everything I just described, the lemonade stands turning into Kool-Aid stands, turning into handmade greeting cards, to newspaper routes, to 3 newspaper routes, to 3 part-time jobs during high school, and still wanting to maintain straight A's and 2 soccer teams. And then, you know, hitting the ground running into finance, becoming a mortgage broker, growing that business as fast as I could, deciding I want to become a photographer, growing that business as fast as I could, deciding I want to become a coach, growing that business as fast as I could. And I was like, whoa, what is the race? What am I racing towards? What am I running away from? And I realized it was rooted in that fear of when I was a little girl, and I decided I never wanted to be hunched over a dining room table, crying to my mom on the phone, terrified that I won't be able to feed my own child and keep a roof over her head.
That sounds exhausting, what you went through. And I get it though. It's that go-getter and wanting to achieve. So you went from this hustle hard to letting go. Can you kind of like tell the difference between the two, and even how to feel the difference between the two?
I'm so thrilled that we get to talk about this, because I really feel like society rewards the grind and the hustle. And, you know, I see people bragging that they only had 3 hours of sleep last night and they're living off coffee and it's all about the grind. And I'm like, oh Lord, oh man, like, you know, if that brings that person joy, then no judgment, and, you know, go on and go ahead with that. But I was hitting burnout. I was hitting overwhelm. I was sacrificing relationships. Honestly, this is not easy to admit, but I would actually secretly get irritated when people would ask to spend time with me, my friends, my family. I was like, don't you know I'm trying to grow a business? I'm an entrepreneur. Do you think I'm just like fooling around all day? Like, I'm working. And I wouldn't actually say these things out loud, but it's what I was thinking. So I was literally pushing away my friends, my family. I barely saw my own husband because it was just hustle on my laptop all the time. And I realized, well, this is really ass backwards, because I became an entrepreneur because I wanted to help people and I wanted to live this life of freedom. And yet I was being imprisoned by my own dreams and by my own hustle. And I thought, whoa, this is really not what I wanted. So after that question with Gabby Bernstein brought up that epiphany, I didn't just go home and be like, screw it, I'm done with the hustle, I'm over it. I really had to start thinking about my priorities. I had to start thinking about what was important to me at the end of my life. I had to think about Oh, this gives me goosebumps. The fear of letting go, the fear of facing the possibility of, well, what if I wasn't hustling anymore? I don't even know what that looks like. Does that mean that my business crashes and burns? Does that mean I give up all the momentum that I've worked my whole life for and hustled my ass off, especially for the last 7 months for this new business? You know, I thought that everything that I had worked so hard for my whole life would come crashing down and burn, because that's what my ego would have me believe, and because I didn't know otherwise. So it wasn't until now, coming through the final 6 months of 2016, hitting that January, thinking, okay, what do I want this new year to look like? I said, that's it. I'm not hustling. I'm not setting big financial goals. I'm not grinding, and I will not fit my life around my business. I'm going to start fitting my business around living my life. And wow, it was uncomfortable. It was different. But as I got used to it and I relaxed into it, and I saw that I really did still have a business, and that people were still wanting to work with me, and I did still generate an income, but I was having so much fun at the same time. I was prioritizing joy over goals. And it ended up being literally the most fun and successful year of my life. And one thing that I want to add is that I started attracting these opportunities that I thought would take me 5 years of hustling and grinding to get to. So to be more specific, in January alone, I was asked to be interviewed on TV in New York City, which was a big deal for me. I'm from a small town in Canada. I was asked to be a guest speaker at a retreat in the Caribbean. And I was putting the final touches on a book that I was asked to contribute to, and ended up being an international bestseller. So that was January. And then that kind of set the tone for the rest of the year. It was truly the best year of my life.
How are you taking all that you learned into 2018?
Great question. So here's where I'm going from 2017 into 2018. I'm going to do things a little bit differently in 2018. 2017, I feel like I was kind of testing this whole theory of, can I actually allow joy to be my priority and still be feeling like I'm growing and evolving and progressing in the way that I want to, without having to hustle, grind in order to get there. I don't want to come off like I was just sitting in this field of daisies for a year. I was just, everything I did, the first question was, will this bring me more joy? Or what will be the most joyful way to create this, to create next in my business, or to create clients, or to do this weekend, or to do today? But I feel like it was more about testing this theory and to see if it was even possible. 2018, now that I know that it's possible, it's like, okay, I'm ready to kind of put a little bit of gas on the spark. So I'm being a little more intentional with what I want to create. So January has been a lot of putting in the pieces into motion of what I want the rest of 2018 to look like. And the way that I decided what I wanted 2018 to look like was, what would be my most joyful day? What do I love to do the most? And that is, number one, speaking and sharing from the heart. So the things that I'm putting into motion today are setting me up so that every day is just doing what I love.
That's awesome. So what I'm taking away from all of this, and it's one of my mottos, but let go, let flow. So it seems that like you used to live in a state of controlling and wanting to constrict everything, and you thought the more you did, things would then go your way. But I think what I'm getting is that when you were able to let go, and literally I always think of life as a river, and there's boulders and there's rocks throughout, But if we let go, those boulders become so much smaller and it all just flows through effortlessly.
Yeah. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. But, honestly, Heather, for anyone listening to this, I used to hear people say, follow your joy and allow ease and get into the flow. And I was still in the space of like, forget that. I have goals. I have dreams. And I thought, if I'm not making it happen, and almost like, I wouldn't have said the word forcing, but that's what I was trying to do, was force my will into my life.
Yeah.
Then nothing would happen at all. So, for anyone listening who's still kind of like really into the hustle, into the grind, if it's still bringing you joy, great. But if you're feeling overwhelmed, you're hitting burnout, you are starting to get annoyed when your friends and family want to hang out with you, there is another way, and you don't have to give up growing your dreams, your business, and your income. But what's coming to me, and I don't know if this is Wayne Dyer or if this is someone else, but I just think it really fits here. And it's that so many live by this belief that when they become successful, they'll be happy. And what I've really learned is that when you're happy, you will be successful. And that's what I will live my life by 2018 onwards.
I like that. Can you repeat that again?
Yeah. So it is, it's not when you're successful, you'll be happy. It's when you're happy, you will be successful.
That is powerful.
Yeah. I love it.
I would like to wrap this up and end it with some rapid fire questions. These are questions I like to ask. You don't get time to think about it. So the first thought that comes to you, go with it. Okay. What is your go-to book?
Oh, Oprah, What I Know for Sure.
Oh, I've not even, is that newer?
I think it came out a couple of years ago, but and that's funny because Heather, you didn't give me time to think about it, because usually I say, oh, The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer. But in that moment, no, it was What I Know for Sure, Oprah. And they're just, 2-page chapters, and each of them are just like an aha moment that she's collected over the years.
Love Oprah. And actually that book by Michael Singer is phenomenal.
I know, it is life-changing.
So I know you're a huge beach girl. You love the water and the sand. What is your favorite beach destination?
Ooh. Okay, without thinking, it was Bali.
What part of Bali were you at?
Seminyak. Well, Ubud for the yoga retreat, Seminyak for a little luxury couple of days.
Awesome. What is your favorite quote or motto to live by?
Yeah, I know what this is. So it's by Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham. And I'm going to have to go by memory here. So it is: the foundation of life is freedom. The purpose of life is joy. And the result of life is expansion.
I love that. And I listen to Abraham as well. I want to leave on this note. What is one wish you have for listeners?
That they will live completely in alignment with their soul, what brings them joy. That's how you communicate with your soul, and what your soul wants for you, and what your highest path is for your life. 100% of the day, every day, for the rest of their lives.
Thank you, Jen, so much for sharing your story and your insight. I love having you.
Thank you so much, Heather, for the opportunity and for sharing this message. I'm so grateful to you. Thank you.